Friends, what if you could know a girl's innermost thoughts without even talking to her? Something like this happens with the hero of today's story, and we'll see how far he can go by taking advantage of this ability in the complete story. At the beginning of the story, we see Nick Marshall, who works in an advertising agency. Nick grew up in Las Vegas, USA, with his single mother, who was a showgirl. Because of this, he spent his entire childhood among many beautiful girls, and because of this, he believes he understands girls very well. Nick was married to a woman named Gigi, and they had a 15-year-old daughter named Alex. However, Nick never developed a special relationship with Alex. Gigi has recently left Nick and married a man named Ted. Despite this, Nick's life is going well, and he is very skilled in his work and very smart at selling products. Even after his divorce from Gigi, Nick's life is filled with many girls, one of whom is his crush, Lola, who works in a coffee shop. Although he knows how to attract girls, he knows nothing about what beautiful girls are really thinking. Next, we see Nick going to his office, where his promotion is supposed to happen today. But his boss tells him that nowadays girls in America are buying our advertising products very quickly, and I had decided to give the position of creative director to a girl named Darcy, who is very smart. The best girls will know about the kind of work we do, and I think it's a good decision to have a girl in this position. Hearing this from his boss, Nick feels very bad because he thought he was the best fit for the position. Then, we see that Gigi invites Nick to her wedding reception and tells him that she is going on a 2-week honeymoon with her new husband. So, until she returns, Nick will have to take care of her daughter Alex. Here, Nick also learns that his daughter has a boyfriend named Cameron, but he doesn't like the idea of his daughter having a boyfriend. However, Alex doesn't care about this because Nick was never really present in her life. We then see Darcy, where Nick's boss introduces her to all the employees. After that, Darcy gives a speech saying that we will all work together to bring this company to the top of the market. She then gives each employee a box of women's products and asks them to come back the next day with an idea for selling them. Inside the boxes are many women's items. When Nick returns home, he tries to come up with ideas to persuade women, but no ideas come to his mind. He opens his daughter's bag and plays a pop music CD, then starts using each product for women. While doing this, as he begins to wear a bra, Alex arrives with her boyfriend. Seeing her father in this state, she is embarrassed and sends her boyfriend home. Nick then tries to explain to his daughter that he was doing this as an experiment, but she scolds him and goes to her room. Now, while Nick is still trying to come up with ideas for his ad company, he starts playing with a hairdryer, but suddenly he slips and falls into the bathtub with the hairdryer, getting electric shocks and falling unconscious. The next morning, Nick's maid wakes him up for room cleaning and, seeing the mess, wonders what he was doing with the women's products. Nick tells her he was just doing some experiments. The maid then says, "But I didn't tell you anything." She then thinks about going on a date with her boyfriend today. Hearing this, Nick wishes her all the best, which shocks the maid as she says, "I didn't tell you anything." We see that when Nick goes out, he starts hearing the thoughts of girls passing by, some thinking about their coffee machines being broken and others about their boyfriends. After going to the office, the situation gets worse because he finds out that his company's workers think of him as a fool, some think he is gay, and others mock his appearance. Hearing so many girls' thoughts in the office, he realizes that he can hear their thoughts, but doesn't understand why this is happening. Through this power of hearing thoughts, he finds out that a girl named Darren wants to commit suicide and her secretary, Annie, is unhappy working with her and uses the company's phone to call her boyfriend as a way of taking revenge on the company. Now, Nick gets bored listening to girls' thoughts and starts looking for a doctor's number in the telephone directory. But then, one of his workers takes him to a meeting, and in the meeting, there are many company members along with Darcy. Nick uses his power to impress Darcy and starts telling her what girls like. Afterwards, when Nick comes home from the office, he sees his daughter romancing with her boyfriend and gets angry, sending the boyfriend away. During this, his daughter gets upset and starts talking back to him. We then see that Nick is now troubled by hearing the thoughts of girls who are speaking ill of him. So, he goes back outside with the hairdryer and stands in the rain to get another shock to become normal again, but it doesn't work. The next day, Nick visits a therapist who initially doesn't believe him, but then Nick tells her that he can hear her thoughts too. The therapist tests him with some thoughts, and Nick correctly answers them. After this, the therapist believes him and explains that he is the luckiest man in the world to understand what girls want and says that he could rule the world with this power. This makes Nick understand and he becomes very happy. Next, he starts using his powers to impress his crush, Lola, telling her everything she wants to hear. He then asks her out on a date, which she agrees to. After that, he begins to develop friendships with his workers during work at the office, and he asks Annie to give a greeting card to her boyfriend and helps Darren with her work. Then, he goes to Darcy and listens to her thoughts, and discovers that she is working on a secret project to secure the company. Here, they have a lengthy conversation, during which Darcy learns that Nick has a daughter who is going to prom. Now, Darcy knew how much happiness a prom dress brings to girls, so she asks Nick to help his daughter. After returning home, Nick sees his daughter talking with her two friends about going to prom. Nick says hello to everyone, but Alex's friends initially dislike Nick, considering him a strict father. However, Nick immediately offers to buy Alex her prom dress, instantly becoming a good dad in front of her friends, and he also apologizes for overreacting. Then, Nick takes Lola on a date and uses his power to make it the best and most special date for her. After that, Nick struggles at first, so Lola silently curses him in her mind for not doing things right.
After that, Nick now starts spending time with Darcy as well,
But he impresses her by using her ideas, which he had stolen by listening to her thoughts, making her believe they had similarities, which leads her to like him. While eating, he explains to his daughter, "I suspect your boyfriend is just passing time with you." During this, Nick also listens to her thoughts and understands that Darcy's past has been filled with sadness. Gradually, they get closer and kiss each other, but after spending more time with Darcy, Nick starts falling in love with her. He also realizes that he has been cheating by listening to her thoughts. After Darcy leaves, he sees Lola outside, watching them. Lola gets angry and says her heart is broken because Nick hasn't met her since that night. Hearing this, Nick feels very bad and, to get rid of her, lies that he is gay and would have married her if he wasn't. Lola finds it a bit strange, but believes Nick and leaves. On the day of the presentation, Nick feels guilty for stealing Darcy's ideas, so he asks her to pitch the presentation. Nick impresses all the board members with his presentation, winning the contest for his company. He receives all the credit, but he feels terrible for cheating Darcy, so he starts writing her a letter to apologize. However, Darcy arrives, takes him to her newly purchased house, and shows him around. They gradually become very close and share some beautiful moments together. The next day, Nick meets his boss, who tells him that he has been promoted to creative director and that Darcy has been fired because she didn't say a word during the meeting. But hearing this, Nick feels even worse and tells his boss that the entire idea for the presentation was Darcy's, and he insists that she should be brought back to work. After this, he leaves to find Darcy. Then, he learns that Darren, who was about to commit suicide, hasn't come to work today, which scares him, so he goes to her house to check on her. On the way, Nick sees an explosion on the electric poles due to rain, which hits him directly, but nothing happens to him. When he reaches Darren's house, he finds a suicide letter there, but then he sees that Darren is still there. Realizing his mistake, he tells Darren that he's promoting her, which makes her very happy. But while talking to Darren, Nick realizes that he can no longer hear her thoughts, meaning that the lightning strike has returned him to normal. He then goes to Darcy's house, but it's closed, so he leaves a voice message for Darcy and leaves. Later, we see that Nick gets a call from Gigi, who tells him that Alex is missing, so Nick rushes to the prom and starts searching for her. He finds Alex crying in a bathroom. When he asks what happened, she says, "My boyfriend broke up with me and left me." Nick tells her, "I'm so proud of you, my daughter," and after comforting her for a while, she feels better, stops crying, and calls him Dad for the first time, saying, "Take me home, Dad." In the next scene, we see Nick lovingly putting his daughter to bed. After that, he goes to Darcy's house again in the middle of the night, and this time he finds her at home. Nick confesses the whole truth, telling her that he could hear women's thoughts and used this power to steal her ideas because he wanted a promotion in the company. He also shares his feelings, saying, "I did use my power in a dishonest way, but because of it, I genuinely fell in love with you." After saying all this, Nick starts to leave, but Darcy stops him and says, "I've forgiven you, and I like you too." Then, they kiss each other, and with that, the story ends. So, friends, if you liked the story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll meet again with another interesting story.